Have you ever noticed how the world changes the moment you put your headphones on? You're walking down the street, or maybe sitting on a train, and suddenly you aren't just a commuter anymore. The window isn't just glass, it's a camera lens. The rain isn't just weather, it's pathetic fallacy, mirroring your internal state. There is something strange about this modern urge to narrate our own existence in real time. We curate, we pose, and we secretly imagine an audience watching our daily commute as if it were the opening credits of a coming-of-age film. But here is the paradox that challenges everything we think we know about this behavior. We assume main character energy is about vanity. We assume it's about an inflated ego or a desperate need for attention. But what if it's the exact opposite? What if the need to view your life as a movie isn't about showing off, but about hiding? What if becoming the protagonist is actually a sophisticated psychological defense mechanism to keep you from feeling your own reality? Let's talk about the scene. You know the one. You're in a coffee shop. You have a book you're barely reading, or a laptop open to a blank page. You are hyper-aware of your posture. You are hyper-aware of the lighting. You are engaging in what psychologists call impression management, but it goes deeper than just wanting to look good. You are directing a scene where you are the star. If you recognize yourself in this, I want you to know you aren't crazy, and you certainly aren't alone. This phenomenon has exploded in our digital age, but the psychology behind it is ancient. At a surface level, this feels empowering. It turns the mundane into the magical. It turns a boring Tuesday into a pivotal plot point. But here's the thing. When you constantly view your life through a cinematic lens, you stop being the person living it, and you start becoming the editor of it. You begin to experience your life in the third person. There is a psychological term for this specific kind of detachment: depersonalization. It's a mild form of dissociation where you feel like an observer of your own body or thoughts. When reality feels too messy, too boring, or too painful, we unconsciously step back. We retreat behind the camera, because if you are the director, you can yell "cut." If you are the director, the pain isn't meaningless suffering. It's just character development. But here is where it gets interesting. If you are the actor, who is the audience? When you are walking down that street, pretending to be in a music video, who are you performing for? In psychology, there's a concept developed by David Elkind called the imaginary audience. It's usually associated with adolescence. That feeling that everyone is watching you, judging your every move, scrutinizing your outfit. Most of us are supposed to grow out of this. We are supposed to realize that people are generally too consumed with their own lives to care about ours. But for the person with main character syndrome, the imaginary audience doesn't disappear. It evolves. It stops being a source of anxiety and starts being a source of comfort. Think about that for a second. Why would being watched feel comforting? Here is the truth. For many people who grew up feeling emotionally neglected, invisible, or misunderstood, the idea of an unseen audience is a survival mechanism. If there is a camera on you, it means you matter. It means your pain is being witnessed. It means your loneliness has a purpose. If you grew up in a home where your emotions were ignored, you might have learned to perform them to get them noticed. Or you might have retreated into your head, creating a fantasy world where your struggles were noble and heroic, rather than just sad and lonely. So, when you romanticize your life today, when you frame your sadness as a beautiful, tragic montage, you are essentially trying to give yourself the attention you were denied. You are validating your own existence by turning it into a story worth watching. And this brings us to the core mechanism at play here. It's not about vanity. It's about control. Psychologists often talk about the locus of control. People with an internal locus believe they have power over events in their lives. People with an external locus believe life just happens to them. The main character fantasy is a brilliant, albeit tricky, way to hack this system. Real life is chaotic. Real life is full of awkward silences, unrequited texts, job rejections, and random, senseless tragedies. In real life, you are often an NPC, non-playable character in someone else's drama. And that feeling, the feeling of helplessness, is terrifying. But in a movie, everything happens for a reason. Chekhov's gun dictates that if a gun is shown in the first act, it must go off in the third. In a story, there are no loose ends. If you are suffering in the first act, it guarantees a triumph in the finale. By treating your life like a movie, you are trying to impose narrative structure on chaos. You're trying to convince yourself that the confusion you feel right now is just the part before the breakthrough. It's a way of self-soothing. It's a way of saying, this bad thing isn't just a bad thing, it's my origin story. And maybe that's the real tragedy of the main character. You aren't obsessed with yourself because you think you're perfect. You are obsessed with the story of yourself because you are afraid that without the story, you might just be drifting. But here is the cost, and this is the part that is hard to hear. When you live your life as a performance, you create an invisible wall between you and everyone else. Have you ever tried to have a genuine connection with someone who is constantly on? It's exhausting. It feels like you're reading lines from a script rather than having a conversation. The psychology behind this runs deeper than just social awkwardness. It touches on what Donald Winnicott called the false self. The false self is a persona we create to protect our true self from being hurt. The main character is the ultimate false self. It is armored, it is curated, it has good lighting. But here is the catch. You cannot be loved for your script. You can only be loved for your outtakes. True intimacy requires vulnerability. It requires the messy, uncinematic, boring, ugly parts of you. It requires you to be awkward without framing it as adorkable. It requires you to fail without framing it as a learning lesson. When you are the main character, other people inevitably become supporting characters. You might subconsciously view friends as sidekicks, partners as love interests, and strangers as extras. This dehumanizes the people around you. It prevents you from seeing their complexity, their main character energy, and the result? A profound, aching loneliness. You can have thousands of followers. You can have the perfect aesthetic. You can have a life that looks like a movie, and yet feel completely untouched by genuine human connection. Because people are falling in love with the actor, not the person. So where do we go from here? If you see yourself in this, please do not judge yourself. Remember, this started as a way to protect you. It started because you needed to feel seen. You needed to feel safe, and you needed to feel like your life had meaning. Those are beautiful human needs. But there is a difference between performing your life and inhabiting it. Psychologist Dan McAdams studies narrative identity. He argues that the stories we tell ourselves about our lives are crucial to our mental health. We need to be the heroes of our own stories to navigate the world. However, the goal is not to perform that story for an imaginary audience. The goal is to internalize it for yourself. Here is the reframe I want to offer you today. You don't need to stop being the main character. You just need to change the genre of the movie. Stop trying to live in a blockbuster. Blockbusters are scripted. Blockbusters are predictable. Blockbusters are obsessed with the climax. Start living in a documentary. Think about the difference. A documentary filmmaker observes. They are curious. They don't try to control the lighting. They work with what's there. They find beauty in the grit, in the silence, in the unexpected. When you shift from directing to documenting, you stop trying to force the moment to be significant, and you start looking for the significance that is already there. And this is where it gets liberating. There is a profound freedom in occasionally embracing the energy of the NPC. Try it sometime. Go for a walk without your headphones. Look at the people around you. Realize that the woman on the bus has a heartbreak just as shattering as yours. The barista has a dream just as vivid as yours. When you realize that everyone is a main character in their own head, you are released from the burden of being special. You are released from the pressure to constantly entertain. You become part of the tapestry of humanity, rather than a solitary figure standing in front of it. Psychology tells us that awe, that feeling of being small in the presence of something vast, is one of the most healing emotions we can experience. You cannot feel awe if you are the biggest thing in the room. You can only feel it when you step out of the spotlight and look up at the stars, realizing they aren't stage lights. They're just stars. So, the next time you catch yourself dissociating into a montage, looking out the rainy window and imagining the credits rolling, catch yourself. Smile at the impulse. Thank it for trying to make the moment meaningful. But then, try to drop the camera. Feel the cold glass against your forehead. Watch the rain actually hit the pavement. Listen to the annoying sound of the train engine, not the soundtrack in your head. The most beautiful moments of your life won't be the ones that look good on film. They will be the ones where you were so fully present, so deeply inside your own body that you forgot you were a character at all. You don't need an audience to matter. You don't need a plot twist to be valid. You are here. You are real. And that is story enough.